Really? What part?
I grew up in Owings Mills. I went to Pikesville High School, graduated from Pikesville.
Okay. What got you into beer manufacturing?
Well, I never intended necessarily to go into beer manufacturing, but what got me into beer was I went away to school in the University of Massachusetts, and at the time it was sort of during the first wave of microbrewing, and there were a myriad of small breweries up there, and my experience was that when I went to a party in college, there was always a keg of really good beer that wasn't an industrial fizzy yellow lager. So I got exposed to some really good beer, and it just sort of stayed with me throughout my whole life, and I kept exploring different beers, and it was just always sort of a hobby of mine. And I found myself in a career of graphic design for 7 years, and after about 5 years of sitting behind a computer all day, I really started to feel unsatisfied. Like I needed something else in my life. I needed something more tangible, and I took up home brewing. So I started brewing my own beer at home, and after about the second batch, it just really clicked for me. I thought this is something that I would really like to do. I looked into possibly becoming a professional brewer, but that requires years of schooling and a lot of science knowledge, or you have to start as an apprentice somewhere and do the dirty work for a lot of years. And I just wasn't at a point in my life where I could do that. So instead, I started to look at the market for craft beer here in Baltimore, and set out to write a business plan, and met my partner Kevin, and we worked it out, and now here we are.
Here you are.
Yeah.
So from the time you thought of doing something in Baltimore to actually doing it, how long did that take?
It's about 3 years.
3 years. Now, this is a pretty big operation, and you're right here in the sort of Falls Road area.
Mm-hmm. Hamden, Woodbury.
Right. Was it difficult getting in here?
It was. It was very important to us and to our business plan and to our concept for the brewery to be in Baltimore City.
Mm-hmm.
When we set out to look for a location, we found it very difficult to find any space within the city limits that was properly zoned for this kind of manufacturing, and that was the other criteria was that it be sort of part of the fabric of a neighborhood. It was very difficult. It took us about 7 months until we landed on this place. We looked at probably 50 different locations, and when we finally found this building
mm-hmm.
in this neighborhood and it was zoned properly, we didn't look back. We knew we were going to build it here.
Yeah. Tell me some of the trials you had to go through in getting this thing up and running.
Well, besides going through and finding the location, which was very difficult, this is a very old building in an old neighborhood, and it's never had anything like a brewery in it before. We had to do a lot of demolition to it. We had to run new gas, new electric, so those were big issues. And I would say the other hurdle was we had to do a lot of education, both to the community and to the city officials about what we were doing here. Most of the time when you say you're starting a brewery, people instantly think of a brew pub, which is a restaurant with a brewery attached. And that is not what we're doing here, not what we intended to do. So, for instance, the health department would then compare us to a restaurant and hold us to those same standards of food production, which we're not doing. We're just doing beer, and beer is, the whole process is completely contained, and that's not exposed to the air in any way. So we had to do a lot of education to the officials, and as well as to the community association here, which were very receptive and are very happy to have us.
Right. Well, you took me on a tour of the brewery, and right now you're producing beer in bulk, in kegs, right? But you're inviting people to come pay you a visit here. And when they do, how do they get beer from craft brewery?
From our craft brewery, it's very important for us to connect with the drinkers, and it's difficult because we are draft only, and there's a 3-tier system in place. So we sell to a distributor, and our distributor sells to the retailer, and the retailer then sells to the ultimate consumer. So it's really important for us to be able to invite the consumer down to the brewery, see the passion that goes into the beer, see the facility, and then come to the tasting room where they can get beer directly from us in a 64-ounce growler to go. It's refillable, and we will fill up with any beers we currently have on tap. And it's brewery fresh beer that you can take home, and it's intended to be consumed fresh. And it's really the best possible way we can present our beer, and that you can enjoy it at home.
So you have two major beers here.
That's right.
Duckpin and Vault.
That's correct.
Vault for Baltimore.
Yeah.
Now, I understand the Baltimore. Why the Duckpin?
So duckpin refers to duckpin bowling, which legend has it was invented in Baltimore.
Really?
And it's a very sort of nostalgic thing for us. As children, we played it. It's something that's a quirky signature sport of Baltimore, and we just love it. We find it endearing about the city. It's charming, and it's also sort of dying out. The duckpin lanes are very few and far between these days, and we just thought it would be a great name to connect both to the city and for our brewery to connect with.
Now, I see you have Union on your label. Is that because of the street you're on?
So it originally came to us because of the street we were on. That was obvious. I had a lot of names in the hat for the brewery. When we ended up on Union Avenue, we thought, man, Union is a great name. It means more to us than just the street name. It also sort of ties back to the industrial past of the neighborhood, which we really like to connect to. And we also feel like beer is a perfect medium to bring people together. And so there's sort of that union of beer drinkers and beer makers. And also the way that the ingredients of beer come together to make something special. It's all the union.
So your grand opening was earlier this month of August. And so far, what has been the response from the public and others?
The response has been great. I consistently am humbled by how pleased everyone is with having us down here in this neighborhood, with seeing a new brewery open in Baltimore. We've been received very warmly, and people seem to really like the beers, which is the best part.
So, how do people if they wanted to make a connection to come down here, how do they contact you?
We can be contacted through an email on our website, info@unioncraftbrewing.com. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter @Union Brewing. All of those, you can connect with us. We're very active. And we are the tasting room here. The brewery is open to the public every Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m.